Hi, Sagittarius. Welcome to your October 2017 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So I am a Sun in Sagittarius, and I was putting together all these transits, typing them out, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I can't wait for October. I'm recording this on September 19th, and it's like about 2 weeks away, and I just can't wait. I'm very stoked. So I'll tell you why in a second, but I do want to remind you that this is a general reading. So you can watch this if you're a Sun in Sagittarius as well as Sagittarius rising. The other term for rising sign is ascendant. And for the rising sign, you have to know your exact time of birth. So that's the only sticking point. But besides that, I want you to remember that it is general because the degree of your sun or rising matters in terms of the timing of these transits. But so if you'd like a private reading, I am offering a natal chart interpretation right now on sale, and it's available at rainamoonastrology.com. The link is below this video, but you can still get something from this. And yeah, so it's awesome because what's happening is I'm just going to talk about the fact that the 11th house is really featured in October for Sagittarius. And our 11th house is Libra. And Libra is, first of all, it's going to be still, Jupiter is going to be in Libra until the 10th of the month. So you have like 1/3 of the month with Jupiter in the 11th house of hopes and wishes. So the 11th house is the luckiest house. And so it's very exciting when you have Jupiter there because it's the planet of luck and expansion. So how much better does it get than that? The other thing, though, is that we have other planets kind of crowding into that house. We have the sun that is already there as the month begins in Libra. And the sun will be there until the 23rd when it goes into the 12th house in Scorpio. And that's the more private and passive house and deals with past lives. It's very, to have the sun there, it can be very good for creative stuff because you can tap into the collective unconscious, the Akashic records, everything. But anyway, so the sun is in that 11th house for most of the month. You have a new moon in that house on the 19th at 26 degrees of Libra. I think, yeah, so Mercury is going to be there until the 17th. So that's half of the month. And Venus and Mars go into that house later on. You have Venus going there on the 14th and Mars going into the 11th house on the 22nd. So besides hopes and wishes, which really you could look at as long-term goals, there's also the keywords of the 11th house are friendships and group associations. So Sagittarians could be a lot more social in October, and you may even be like networking with groups. It doesn't have to be with anything professionally, although it might, and it might help you that way. But it could be with some kind of passion that you have. And this is what I consider the 11th house to be, your passion in life. Your 10th house is career. Now, if you're lucky, what you do for a living is something that you're passionate about. But I would say that there are a lot of people out there who have a career because they have certain talents, and they may like what they do, but the 11th house may not have anything to do with career whatsoever. Like, for instance, if you want to live in a certain part of the world, that might be one of your hopes and wishes. And so What I am excited about is the fact that there's going to be a conjunction between Venus and Mars in the 10th house in the sign of Virgo on the 5th and 6th of October. And this is going to be an exact conjunction. And I'm thinking that it could have some kind of really important turning point for career matters, that it could be very good for money as well as success. And I'm hoping that that's the case, because I was always getting stuck in my mind about this idea of Venus and Mars being some kind of romantic thing. And for sure, even in the 10th house, maybe you meet somebody and it's love at first sight, and it happens to be on the job. I mean, that is a possibility, because Mars is kind of the physical desire. You could say Mars is the lust and Venus is the love. And when the two of them are combined like that, it's like you see somebody and all of a sudden it's like this instantaneous thing. And you're in love with them, but you're physically attracted to them at the same time. But I'm also looking at what Mars represents outside of love, and that is ambition. And Venus can bring money. So it's like, wow, hitting the jackpot with your career, maybe. And what I like too about that is that one of the dates, October 5th, is the same day as the full moon in Aries. And Aries is a fellow fire sign. So we have the Venus-Mars conjunction in Virgo, an earth sign, in the 10th house of career. And then you have on the 5th, and then on that very same day, the full moon in Aries in the 5th house of love. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that could be something romantic for some of you that has to do with your career. I guess it could be. But the 5th house is about falling in love, but the 5th house is also about having a good time. It's also about creativity. If you're an artist, maybe you're an artist and all of a sudden you get discovered. Like overnight success after 10 years. And like instantaneous jackpot, instantaneous recognition for your efforts that have been going on, seemingly unnoticed, and all of a sudden you're just thrust into the limelight. But it can be something like you're getting your dues, you've paid your dues, and now you're kind of having your ship coming in. And the 5th house is also your home business. So if you have your own business, this may be you might hit critical mass, because that's what I've heard that it happens, where you start a business and, you might have a modest profit. You might make a modest profit for a few years, and then all of a sudden you just take off. Those kind of things. People who think that, they start a business and it just immediately catches fire, that might be a little bit unrealistic. Now, of course, that can happen, and you should always shoot for the stars, but by the same token, keep your feet on the ground too. So that might be a time when you see a turning point for your personal business. Okay? And Mercury in that 11th house for the first 2 weeks of the month, right before the new moon. So visualize, plant those seeds of intention for your future desires. And even if it's before the full moon, a couple of days, still that could be very good for manifestation as well. The 11th house to me is the manifesting house. But they say it's the luckiest house. So luck to me does happen as well, where things just drop in your lap. However, I'm more interested in the things that you can control, because those kind of things are like blessings from the universe. When something just, you get an inheritance from a long-lost relative. that you weren't expecting. That's something dropping in your lap. But that kind of thing you can't plan for. And these other things you can be more proactive, and that's what makes it so fun, especially if it's something that you're passionate about. The 11th house are things that you really are interested in that light your fire, and you are a fire sign, so that's something that's important to you. If you're lukewarm about something that you're doing, then chances are it's not really something that you're into. You're just kind of half-hearted about it. So after you have this magical conjunction of Venus and Mars on the 5th and 6th in the 10th house of career, then they start to kind of separate. And Venus goes into the 11th on the 14th of the month, and then Mars on the 22nd. What this can mean is when Venus goes into the 11th house, you could meet somebody through a group, a romantic partner through a group of friends. Or if you belong to some group, you meet somebody there that is a romantic interest. And maybe you're talking to them for a while, and then, for a week or so, and then all of a sudden it's like, ooh la la, you have that kind of desire for that person. That's when Mars comes in there. And Mars comes on the heels of that new moon in the 11th house. So all of these things are happening with that 11th house towards the end of October. And then let me just talk about the 12th house briefly, because there's a couple of placements there. So you have the sun going into Scorpio, as I said, on the 23rd. And actually before that, Jupiter goes into Scorpio on the 10th of October. Mercury goes there on the 17th. Okay, so you have 3 planets in that 12th house by the time that October is history. So the 12th house, for Jupiter to be there for the next year and some change, is interesting. Now, this is the final placement for Jupiter before the new cycle begins, when Jupiter goes into Sagittarius. And I think that happens on around November 8th or so of 2018, just for your own interest. And that means that this is going to be about an 13-month transit of Jupiter and Scorpio. So that's interesting, because lunar calendars, I believe, are 13 months long. And the number 13 reduces to 4. So that's a number of foundations. So really, what you should be doing with Jupiter in the 12th house is massive visualization for your new Jupiter cycle when Jupiter's in Sagittarius. Now, what makes that even more epic is that Jupiter is our ruler, so it has an extra oomph to it, So I'm really looking forward to that. I wasn't even paying attention until I was listening to another astrologer who was talking about that, and I was like, wow. That's going to be cool. But in any case, Jupiter in the 12th house is like a guardian angel. So no matter what happens, you may have at the 11th hour, Jupiter coming in and stepping in and helping you out in some way. But it can be, so it might be kind of like a more subdued influence where it's not in your face. Because the 12th house is really the spiritual house in a lot of ways. I mean, I consider the 8th house as well, but the 12th house is ruled by Neptune, so it really has that metaphysical and otherworldly feel to it. but also with the consciousness. Well, it's the house of mental health, but to me, that's connected to your consciousness. So it could be where you find that your mood has improved, that you're feeling a lot more optimistic about life. And you may not even know why, but you just do. You just feel like confident that everything is going to work out as it should because you're connected to source energy. You're not living as much in the world. And you could meet a teacher or teachers who really help you on your path. And so there might be serendipity in association with the cast of characters that appears before you on this journey through life in the next 13 months. So, that's just some of the possibilities. And so you could benefit from anything that's related to spiritual matters or if you're like somebody who works with prisons and hospitals, that could be beneficial for you. For instance, in criminal justice, or if you're a nurse, doctor, in the healthcare profession. By the way, if you are in the healthcare professions in some particular way, you may decide to do something that is like energy healing, where it's not, actual drugs, but it's using vibration to help unblock other people's chakras and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. And so that's Jupiter, and that's going to be an influence for the next 13 months. Mercury in the 12th house can leave you feeling a little bit, I don't know, where are these, I call them psychic hits, getting these, when I have Mercury in the 12th house, sometimes I'm like, whoa, what made me think of that? Something like deeply buried within you, and a memory that just resurfaces, and you're like, why am I thinking about this? And there's a reason why we're thinking about certain things. Now, it could be on the very mundane level, but there may be an association that you need to kind of think about. Maybe it's a person that you had a ruptured relationship with, and you have a memory about a certain thing, and it seems like it's just a silly thing, but it's really about the person themselves and their and your relationship to them. You could just have these weird feelings like deja vu when you go out and you make these connections with things that you see, and you're like, God, was I here before? And there can be kind of like mental confusion or anxiety because there's not that logic that Mercury loves to latch onto. It's totally on the intuitive level, the feeling level. But your intuition may be totally on fire, for lack of a better word. And the sun there, as I said, you could have inspiration that is of a spiritual nature. You may be more dreamy and prone to fantasizing, which is actually good because you have these planets like Venus and Mars in the 11th house, and they want to bless you and work on your behalf to make your dreams come true. So dream big, So the last thing I wanted to say, because I kind of glossed over the full moon. I'm kind of like all over the map here with this reading, but it doesn't matter. You'll get the message either way. With the full moon in Aries in the 5th house, you could be seeing a situation, and I'm trying to keep in mind about that Venus-Mars conjunction, where maybe you are working with somebody and you realize this is my soulmate. And I thought they were just my coworker, and they're actually my soulmate. And it could also be that you fall into your dharma, which I would associate with the 10th house, your path, what you came here to achieve. In that with the full moon, it can be an aha moment that's connected to what you came here to do or your reputation in the world, which is what the 10th house really is all about. And so you could, with that realization, a full moon in the 5th house about your creative talents, your own business, or how you can make money with your creative talents, and how that connects to your career now. All of this can be coming to a head. And for some people, if you've been dating someone, you may say, next, I'm not feeling this relationship, or, wow, I want to marry this person. And that's the time when you feel that way. So it looks really good, Sagittarius. I hope you enjoyed this. And good luck to you in October. Bye.